LFL AFL enjoyers. Back to react to round. What is this round? Round 17. Yeah, a little bit of a boring round, to be honest with you. I think only one close game.
Yeah, which was the Sydney game that we predicted before.
Yeah.
Last week we were like, oh, it's going to be blowouts, and it was.
Yeah, we were hoping for a few more upsets, weren't we? We sort of pegged maybe Essendon because Gold Coast don't travel well. Or
I don't know how you guys thought that.
A few people were tipping West Coast, like JL. I don't know what you were on about, man.
Yeah, that was an interesting call there, JL, and was it Dudes as well? Did he do that too?
Possibly.
Yeah. Anyway, but look, we'll get into North game straight up. Now, the scoreline doesn't look flattering, clearly, to North fans. However, we were competitive for 2.5 quarters, so I'm happy with that, first of all. The huge shining light for me, even though, the direct opponent, Darcy, got 4 goals, Will Dawson looked excellent to me, It felt as though the only time Darcy really, got the better of him when it was just like the perfect opportunity to mark, or was just like at the highest point, the perfect kick, and Dawson couldn't do anything about it. But other than that,
Darcy had 5 touches and nothing until about the third quarter, and then he got a 50-meter penalty, which was harsh.
Yeah, and obviously, so that's no fault.
And then the game got out of hand, and he kicked a few more. So, on paper, he had a good game, but in reality, Dawson did a good job.
Yeah, his ability to actually get up there and spoil. There's not many other defenders with that type of, jumping, what's it called, that type of vertical and that type of height.
Well, he's 200. I was going to say he's 200 centimeters, and he's played 5 games, 19 years old. So. And he already looks physically not too bad. He'll develop even more, but there's a lot to work with there, man.
Yeah, and the Cumberland comes back hopefully soon. And then all of a sudden, that defense, you can really see it shape up, which is good. But yeah, another thing as a North supporter, the other end of the ground, Nick Larkey, that was such a inspired first quarter. Shame that his knee gave out, after celebrating a goal. That was, that's so frustrating, because I think otherwise it was probably a 2 or 3 goal swing, because all of a sudden whenever we were exiting the 50, we had no one to sort of, not enough, bodies to sort of bring it down to ground, because Lob just started killing it in the last half.
I've got to be honest, I didn't have much hope for this game. We know the Dogs always have their way with us generally, but then we have a few outs before, Darling's out, Parker's out, Luke McDonald's out. You can argue the amount of impact they're all having as a collective, but they're all experienced players. Wardlaw's out. So, and then LDU gets concussed in the first quarter. And honestly, from that point, and then I see Larky getting strapped, I was extremely proud of the way the game unfolded. Obviously, you'd rather not have that fade out and let, the Doggies kick. What they kick in here? 20 goals. Yeah. You'd rather not that, but I'm proud of the amount of points we put on the board. The contest that was, like you said, for 2.5 quarters. We were within 2 points in the third quarter. And it's not the first time that's happened this year where we've been within a kick or two, like Gold Coast. That was a close game for the most part. And then similar scoreline in the end. So
Collingwood as well.
Collingwood, so I guess you take the positives in that. But yeah, super, super impressed with Dawson. Larky. Look, for me, it was a game about the centenary celebration. Put everything on the line. They did the best they could, but we were severely undermanned, and the Dogs are a bloody good team, man.
Oh, man.
They're very good.
I think it was a celebration for them as well. It was Libba's 250th,
of
I
course,
believe. He was huge, man. I think he got 170 Supercoach, which is might be one of the highest scores he's had in his career.
I was the recipient of that score on draft, so 171, I can tell you for sure.
Yeah. But looking at the numbers quickly, 2 goals, 27 disposals, and 10 tackles, and he was just... That's just the type of player that every midfield needs, just a hard in and under dude, and he showed, a bit of class with the goals as well. So
he's a very underrated player, Libba. Very underrated, because I feel like he does that most weeks, maybe minus the 2 goals. And the other thing that's underrated about him is he's actually very classy, skillful player. A lot of the in and under players might be grunt, but not exactly skillful with the foot, but Libba's actually a player that's got both, so
that's
had a great career.
Good call. For the Dogs as well, 5 goals from Norton. When Will Dawson does a decent job on Darcy for most of the game, all of a sudden Norton just has the opportunity to flourish. Dino, you're not a big fan of him, I know that, but
it's a classic flat track Norton game.
He has been better the last couple of weeks. You got to be honest.
No, he's in half decent form. He's the kind of player, we've seen him long enough now, we know how good he is. It's all just about finals performance for me now. Kicking another 5 against North, it's not impressing me, but he did play well.
Yeah, fair enough. So yeah, he does well. I think something I noticed about the doggies, and this is why I'm scared of them for the rest of the season, and the competition should be scared. Their entries into the 50 might be some of the best in the comp, and it's random players. It's not just the same dude kicking it in, but they do that little chip kick, to a forward that's going to be about 35 meters out. They managed to give him space to run into, and they did it multiple times against us. So I think very impressed with that. One more thing I want to talk about with North, right? Will Phillips, I like the dude. He seems like a great guy around, all that type of stuff, but I think he's cooked, man. Like
Have you finally conceded?
I've conceded. He's not quick enough, and not enough tackles were sticking. Now I know it was against the really good midfield. That's the only thing I can think of that maybe it was just the chance he got to play the game was, when he's versing the best midfield just about in the comp, right? So maybe I've got to give him a bit of leeway there, but he's just off the pace, man. Slow and couldn't stick tackles. It wasn't good.
It's a fair assessment of his game. I think the reality being though, like Wardlaw goes out, and I said this last week, I'm worried about his future just generally health-wise because he's now out of concussion protocols technically, but they're already calling him out this week from now.
Yeah.
So who knows what's happening with the kid? Parker's not getting any younger. So, and then he's in. So yes, he's behind on the depth chart, but it's really just comes down to me. If he's happy to stay, I'm happy to keep him as depth. If he's like, nah, I'm being promised minutes elsewhere, like he can leave and I wish him well.
Yeah.
I would never say like, and you can say what you want about the pick in that draft. Like there's no one really screaming out like, you should have picked me. That was a really compromised COVID draft. So it kind of is what it is, but I think he's a squad player at best. And that's, that's
yeah.
how it
Well,
needs to be.
sometimes you need players like that. You know what I mean? But again, if he gets the minutes elsewhere, it's probably it. Who knows? Maybe next week he's still in the team because we're gonna have LDU out, we're gonna have Wardlaw out, and he has a better run at it. It's against Melbourne this week, so it's
And
a decent midfield. You look at it name wise, but
But I think what a lot of North fans are saying, and I agree, is there's some damning numbers on Sheasel's impact in the midfield, specifically his score involvements per possession. I think it was one of the most of all time this week.
Yeah.
But he's not playing full-time mid. So a lot of North fans are saying, just get him in the guts where he's having the most impact. And honestly, like I tend to agree. I'd rather see him get 25 plus touches than 20 odd playing from forward.
And it gives an opportunity to someone like Dersma to get minutes forward.
Correct. Yeah.
Curtis, maybe Braden George, maybe.
I think that's the go.
opportunity,
Yeah. So, I think Phillips then is sort of at risk there. But look, great kid. Great kid.
We'll move into the Carlton-Collingwood game. But before I let Georgie take over and, do his usual Carlton depression rant, I want to just shout out Jesse Motlop for doing the Diogo Jota celebration. I'm a Liverpool fan. You guys have seen me wear the Liverpool kit on, at, some episodes, and that really struck me. That really shocked me. And a kid born in 1996. You know what I mean? Like, just got married, just won the championship. So shout out to number 20. Rest in peace.
Well said. Well said.
Well said. And probably the only props Motlop will ever get in his career. So thanks for giving him that.
That's it. Had to do it, man.
Look, I expected result, boys. Really, we knew this was coming, and honestly, the first quarter was a better response than I expected, and then it was pretty much downhill from there. So I kind of half watched the game. I had it on background. I was at my cousin's house, and it was just kind of on in the background, and you could kind of see the game, how it was unfolding. I was happy kind of with how it started, and I felt like there was a free-flowing nature to the game. I was like, I haven't seen this in a couple of weeks. And then naturally just Collingwood got on top because they're too classy. And then that third quarter was just like playing with kids, man. Spud icons on fan footy.
It's a typical Collingwood thing though, man. They seem to just play with their food.
They do. I mean, they're at the top of the game, the Pies. They're the best team in it for sure. But Carlton is just an absolute shambles. I mean, I know that they're clearly not good enough, but the fact that they've collapsed like this and they're just like laying dead and just getting kicked, I don't understand it. Like, I don't understand how a mature team, like, I don't expect them to win against Pies. Pies are better, but you can't just be getting thrashed by 60 points every week for the rest of the year. Like, what's going on? Where's the leadership? It's the first time Vossi kind of conceded and dropped the kind of positive act and just said, no, we let the team down. It's not good enough. But at the same time, he can't sit there and be positive anymore. Like, you just can't. It gets to a point where everyone's conceded, oh my gosh, this is a disaster. So, it was a disaster performance. And the crazy thing about it is round 1 against Richmond, the Richmond fans, when they won and they saw the Carlton fans leaving, they looked at us with sympathy. They looked at us like, oh my God, what have we done to Carlton? I was at a party on Saturday night, and I know a lot of Collingwood people, like we all do, and they would like give me hugs, man, and like consoling me.
Wow.
One of them was gonna like rock me like a baby and say, "There." So I don't want like sympathy from Collingwood fans, but I'm getting it, and that's how you know they've fallen beyond even a threat. Like you play with a kitten, mate. Kittens are cute. Yeah. I'm not a kitten.
No,
Carlton's meant to be this fierce team. And they're kittens now.
That's the thing. I wouldn't have ever expected sympathy and support like that from Collingwood supporters.
Well, the thing is,
that just shows how far you've fallen, mate.
I kind of get it, because it's more funny when there's hope, and then you're the team that can crush the hope. But like, if it's already gone and you're just stepping on it,
no one's making fun of Carlton anymore. They're just like, oh wow.
It's like you're just seeing someone in the gutter. You just keep walking.
Yeah,
That's sad. Man.
There's a homeless man just like dead on the ground. You're like, oh. Not today, man. I'm busy for work.
Lost,
it's like in The Simpsons. Stop it. He's already dead. It's like that type of vibe for Carlton at the minute.
What's up with Curnow and like a few, like you said, no leadership. Like he looks like he's taking the piss.
Yeah,
that's sad, man.
Look, there's some talk. There's some rumors about Curnow's leadership, and look, he like high-fived Darcy Moore or something like that after the third quarter spray. His head's not in it, and he's nothing like the player he used to be. So. He's a leader of the club. He needs to be the type of player that takes the game on, puts pressure, does a big tackle, kicks a big goal. He's not doing any of that. I mean, he kicked 3 points. I think he kicked multiple points last week as well. So he's nowhere near it. No one's near it. Like our best player was Zach Williams, who had the highest rated performance for Carlton playing 3 quarters. And in typical Zach Williams fashion, had a great game but then got injured. Which he always does.
It keeps happening. Yeah.
I mean, but like that was actually his best game for Carlton, I reckon. He was a massive point of difference. They put him in the midfield. They tried something different. He kicked 3 goals, 3 of our 8 goals from like stoppage. Like, oh, look at that. They tried something new and it worked for 3 quarters. They tried Ashton Moyer to play midfield, which is something different. Like they're trying something, but like, man.
Yeah.
It's Collingwood, man. I don't expect you to win, but why was that not a 20-point loss? Why is it a 60-point loss? Why have they just fallen off a cliff and there's just no one that's willing to just bring it back up? Like, I get that your team's bad, but even the Saints, they're a bad team. Sometimes they come out and win. Port are a bad team. Sometimes they come out and win. It's almost like a foregone conclusion that Carlton's going to lose by 60 points for the next 7 games. How? But is it not? Are you not tipping that?
No, yeah.
They're up against Brisbane this week. What are they going to do?
Because the thing is as well, and because of their own form, teams know that if they're within 4 goals at halftime even, there's a game well and truly on.
There is no team in the comp looking at them now going, oh, they're scary.
And it's like, it happens to North all the time. Like teams know that they come up against North. If they bring their full effort and are focused, there's almost no chance North's beating them. That's just the facts of it.
Well, I feel like when North beat Carlton, North knew what they had to do to
Correct.
win. You could just see by the way they're playing that there's no way they're scared of this team.
And equally, like to the point, same point is if Carlton brought their A game, you would have won. You wouldn't have let us get so far ahead, and then you would have finished strong like you did, and you would have won. So, yeah, you guys are at that point now where you need to really be like maximum, everything goes well, and the other team also doesn't bring their best to have a chance to win, which is a sign of really like a bottom 6 team.
Yeah. So the club's in turmoil. Who knows what the mentality of the players are at, but they're clearly not working together. I imagine the conversations in the background would be biting heads big time. And if it's not, then that's even more alarm bells. And we know there's going to be change at the end of the season. We're going to say that every week now. It's just a matter of who's going to go and what that looks like. I'm kind of suspicious Voss is not going to go. I'm kind of suspicious everyone else around him is going to go. And I almost think they're going to break up this kind of leadership entitled pack, like the Curnows, Mackay's, Cripps, Walsh, Wiedering combo. I think some of those players have to go just to break it up and kind of realign these guys.
Yep.
And I kind of like the idea of Tom De Koning going now, because you can't have 6 players all on over $1 million and the rest of the team scrounging for change. That's probably where the problem is in the first place. The whole idea that there's some players above the others. That's not what it is for good teams. All good teams are even. So
I think a bit of anger on the field as well would go a long way. Like show the fans that everyone's giving a shit. They're just not doing it. The body language is off.
Everything's off. It's quite fascinating how bad they are. Like it should be studied how bad they are.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's
because they're not that bad. They're a bad team, but they're not that bad. So they shouldn't be losing by 60 points every week. That's just not acceptable at all.
Look at the last 2-3 years. When you guys are on, you're on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not a team who's it's not beyond them to play good
No,
footy.
it's not.
You know, it's just
It's a mentality thing. They're being found out. They can't find a way to change it in the game. They don't want to change it in the game. Voss has got no answers. He's just spraying everyone at 3/4 time, saying it's not good enough.
Bloody Jackson Bins. Get out of
Bloody awful Jackson Bins.
Jackson Bins.
Get out of here. Like, come on, man.
Reton Bins. Look, I gotta say, a little funny thing was, De Koning getting, the St Kilda song sung at him. Like, those Collingwood supporters showed no sympathy there. Those guys were, had that dog in them. They were, they were having a little bit of fun there. But yeah, I think he's gonna have to get used to that song, to be honest, because I agree with you, man. You shouldn't be paying that much to keep a ruck. You look at Geelong, who's their ruck. You know what I mean? You look at a lot of these good teams, and it's just like, not that many of them have a ruck where they're paying him, $1 million a year.
Yeah.
Collingwood, they're probably paying a fair bit for Darcy Cameron, but he might go.
I think they're not paying much for him.
Maybe that's why he's been linked to leave.
Yeah,
go places.
I think he's on very little money because he was kind of a no-name.
True. Before, he was a very he was a guy who didn't get opportunities at Sydney. So, look, it'd be the same. I can't imagine Hawthorn pay much to Meek. I can't imagine, Adelaide probably pay a little bit to O'Brien, but not that much. Brizzy, McInerney. I'm just looking at the teams at the top of the ladder here. Yeah, I don't think
Well, if Sam Draper's like the second best ruck available, if Cameron's like, I'm out of here, that's hot commodity.
True.
Brisbane will be in, Adelaide will be in. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah. Just a quick word on Collingwood. I think it's good to see Tom Mitchell come back, 26 possessions.
Brownlow medalist, man. I think we forget that, there's a Brownlow medalist, who's, doing his business in the VFL, you know what I mean? And the minutes that he did get, he was very good.
And Jamie Elliott, most career goals in a season already.
Yeah, wow.
And there's 7 more games to go, plus finals. So, yeah, he's having clearly a career best season, and he's a lock for All-Australian, I think. That's all I'll say about them.
I agree. Yeah. I'm going to say a little smoky for All-Australian. Don't know if he'll get it because he's been injured, but Finn Callaghan is in fine form for GWS, man. Like 37 disposals and a goal against not the best competition, but still, yeah, that's I didn't expect it, especially when I drafted him in Supercoach and then traded him out like a couple of weeks later.
He started round 0 with the house on fire.
Hot. He started hot, man.
And he's been good all season, but the last probably month he's really kind of gone back to that original form.
Yeah, no, loving his play at the minute. Yeah, not too much to talk about with this game. It was just it
was over from minute 1, literally.
Yeah, exactly right, man. Like, dudes like, Josh Kelly having, some good numbers, a couple goals and 27 disposals. That's good for him to get a little bit of confidence because it used to be GWS back in the day. When he plays well, they win.
Yep.
And it's hasn't really been that recently. Even actually the same numbers pretty much. 27 and 2 for O'Halloran as well. So,
getting more midfield minutes, yeah.
Yeah, give those guys a bit of confidence. They'll get Whitfield back next week. From the Eagles' perspective, Jobe Shanahan, man.
I was going to say, yeah.
2 goals.
They nailed that draft pick.
Well, Dino, keen follower of that draft. He loved that was probably your favorite draft in years, right? This last draft.
Yeah, he was definitely of the pure key forwards. I think he was my favorite, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I remember he had him up there, and there was the other, not Fall. There was the other dude after Fall. Who was the guy who got drafted after Fall? I can't even think. Actually, no, it was the other Richmond kid, Armstrong. I remember Armstrong and Jobe Shanahan being up there. And I remember you saying...
I said Armstrong in the end. I had a bit higher.
Yeah. But Shanahan went in the 30s and
he's already... slipped way too far, bro. Way too far.
Yeah. Already looking, like a pretty decent little player, man, with a couple goals. And, it makes the blow of Oscar Allen going just, not as bad,
Yep.
They're actually pretty well stocked for key positions, to be honest with you. With him, hopefully Waterman can come back from his injuries. They've got the other guy... Archer Reed, probably defenders is what they're looking for, if anything, off the top of my head.
And midfield.
And midfield. Where does they leave GWS on the... So they sneak into the 8 after that one. So good for them.
They're still hanging in there, Giants. I think if they just find form at the right time, they'll be pretty dangerous.
Yeah, 100%, man. Essendon Gold Coast... competitive.
You want to give him the flowers for a competitive 3 quarters?
Look, honestly, I was monitoring the game. I wasn't watching it, and I saw that they were close, and I thought, okay, this is kind of actually what I was expecting. And we did say last week they were maybe a chance, but then that last quarter is just disappointing.
Yeah.
I can't really judge because North did pretty much the exact same thing. But yeah, man, it sucks that they lose Caldwell though, and not just because he's on my draft team and I'm trying to win the finals, but
they have had a lot of injuries this year. So.
They've had a horrible year.
Yeah.
Matt, so you were saying before they're like looking. Was it you, George, that they're looking into their high performance?
Yeah. Oh, it was me. I was looking
yeah.
at there was a Twitter, video that just popped up. Mitch Cleary saying that some of the senior players are starting to lose confidence in the high performance or the performance management team. Like, yeah, you realize that now.
That sounds like copium, man.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like when you have a bad year, like Carlton had it last year where they looked at the high performance because everyone got injured. But I mean, look, that has impacted Essendon's performance. Do we think if we had all their players, they'd be challenging for the 8 right now?
Nah, I wasn't buying it.
Look, I think they do have. Probably not. What am I saying? Probably not. Like, look, there's Mackay and Ridley and who else they have? Actually, Zach Reid. Mackay, Ridley, and Zach Reid. All of a sudden, at least they can absorb.
Ridley's back now, but
Ridley's back, but they've been out. Those type of dudes.
Yeah.
If they had all three of those dudes, I think they can at least absorb a bit more, damage and. Both, Ridley and Reid at least are really good distributors. So that would help quite a bit there.
It was nice of them to see, or for them to see Archer May do well, kicked a few goals.
Three in a row.
3 in a row. Yeah, he looks good. They did well with that pick.
Yeah. No, that's it. Look, it's all of a sudden there's less pressure on, certain players like, I feel like they used to be a bit hanging on, Harrison Jones and, to be that second key forward to Caddy, and Peter Wright, I guess.
Langford. It's like Langford, the third tall.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, it just gives them another look. So, yeah, no, why not, man?
I think Kako got Rising Star as well.
Yes. He was actually good. He actually got a bit of disposal up the field. I think it was 7 scoring involvements as well, so that's promising for him. We haven't really had a Kako game this year, and that's that might be like there might have been another decent one here and there, but
he's round 1, 4 goals.
Yeah, and then since then
he hasn't kicked. He's kicked 2 goals in one other game, but otherwise it's either nothing or 1.
So yeah, no. In this game it was only 1 goal, but at least he got involved up the field a bit more as well, and gets goal assist and score involvements, which is what you want for that type of player.
The other thing is Merritt kind of back to his best in the midfield, 40 possessions. He's been played in every position this year, but. Go figure, you play him in the midfield and he dominates.
Yeah, bad. So, look, I guess now they don't have a choice.
With Caldwell,
Caldwell and even Parrish as well, both going out. Just chuck Merritt in there and I'll be trading him in this week because I've got Caldwell. So that's a pretty easy little trade for me there.
Done.
For Gold Coast, you guys seeing the Matt Rowell stuff?
Yeah, the
umpire stuff. Like
they talked back a bit, didn't they? They didn't.
Yeah, they sort of chatted back, and I think that's a little bit dumb because now the AFL are going to watch you even more.
Damien Harvey can't help it though. It's in his nature to just say dumb shit.
Yeah, I think it's at least it gives a bit of attention to Queensland footy. You know what I mean? Which I think is good. But you're right.
Did you hear the diss he said on Essendon about how Essendon changed the way that they were playing, and he was saying something like. Oh, look, Essendon did something a bit different. They used to be a little bit like, low pressure, low contest, handball the ball backwards, kick it backwards. But they didn't do that this week, so good on them. That's what he said. That is like...
So, yeah, good on you guys. You tried,
Actually, you tried not sucking, but we still beat you.
Yeah. Shout out Joel Jeffrey, mate. 32 disposals, mate. He had a very good game. I saw his, I don't know what his Supercoach score was, like 140 or something. So it was
126.
126.
I'm not going to go on a vent about Supercoach draft, but I streamed this guy in last week for a 70.
Yeah, and then
or whatever he got. And I dropped him because I'm like, he's a stream.
Yeah, of course. He's a stream.
And then he goes and does this. Anyway.
Yeah. He's no stranger to a big game out of nowhere, Joel Jeffrey.
Yeah, he's a fun player. Really
he's a fun player. He's a bit of a point of difference for them.
Next game's not too much to say, boys. Geelong did what we all thought they'd do against Richmond.
Maybe the most one-sided of the weekend. That one.
Yeah. It was a laid out, Bailey Smith, but let's be fair, like that's just like, let's just not play Smith against, these kids. Like,
well, didn't they report one thing, like illness, and then it turns out he's actually injured? They just take the piss with their injury reporting, Geelong.
They just do what they feel like. They really just do what they feel like. Look, him going out gave an opportunity for, like, if I look at CBAs, which I got open, third highest CBAs was Stevens. So, Georgie Stevens, so we've got a little cheeky George, running around there. slipped in the draft quite heavily. Another guy slipped in the draft because he's not like overly athletic, but he's got that ready-made, AFL body ready to go, and
he's a unit, man. Yeah.
So it's a good little depth piece for Geelong, going forward. I feel like they got a lot of those dudes that can just go in and just do the job. Like, who's the other guy that they have that was in and out?
Bose.
No, actually, there's Bose, but there's another dude. I think he debuted this year.
What's his name?
You guys never. Oh, there's never. No, I'm thinking of it. See, how many that you guys are naming, and it's not even the guy that I'm thinking of. It's a dude that's always the sub, but I can't think of his name. But they have a bunch of dudes who can go in and just do a role for him.
Speaking of the sub, Mitch Duncan wasn't unused. That's the ultimate flex when you don't use your sub.
True.
One thing I'm looking at Geelong, and this is such a Geelong thing to do, they've taken Jack Martin. The guy's pulled 25 possessions and a goal and made it through the game.
Yeah.
Like, that's just like, of course Geelong will get Jack Martin fit. And Jack Martin's a great player if he's fit. He's a beautiful player. Imagine just subbing him in and imagine getting half a year out of him. He could be the difference to put him in the grand final or not.
Yeah, look,
for free.
I think we forget how good he actually was at Gold Coast.
No, even at Carlton when he played, it was very good.
Yeah, okay.
He played a game and then got injured.
Yeah, it didn't happen very often.
No,
the played to non-played ratio would be like 1-5 or something.
It's worse than that. Make no mistake, this guy's a very good player, and he's in. And then Jeremy Cameron, 4 goals, 5. Unusual for him to miss that many shots, but
yeah, no, he's got to drop punt it a little bit more often for my liking. But man, yeah, good on him. He's gonna get how many goals has he got so far, man?
He's had a big season.
Yeah, he's
on for 80, I reckon.
Which, look, these days 80 is 100.
80 is massive.
Like, do you reckon, like, with the amount of like?
Well, he's kicked 700 goals now too. He's hit the 700 club. Which is like the Rewalt category, the Josh Kennedy category.
Yeah, nah, we gotta put some respect on his name, man. Like, it just feels like just recently that he was just the young buck, in GWS, just kicking goals. And we're like, wow, this Cameron kid's all right.
Does it feel just yesterday? Does it?
It does to me, man. Okay. It's not like I don't know. The GWS just coming into the team is kind of, just coming into the league happened during high school for me.
You're probably thinking of that if you're thinking of the same game as me, the one against Collingwood at the G. Because they never played many games at the GWS. And he kicked might have been like 5 or 6 against Collingwood out of nowhere.
Yeah, to be honest, I can't remember that specific, to be honest with you, man. You got good memory, man.
That was like, wow, look at this young kid go, man. He was killing it.
Yeah.
A special player, generational player.
100%.
I think they still consider him GWS's second best player of all time.
Fair enough.
Next to Toby.
Green. Yeah.
And I think it's hard to put him as the best because he's left, but he's probably better than Toby. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Just if you ask me who I want in my team,
yeah,
all day, it's Jeremy Cameron.
Just on Tigers. I mean, Lawler out for the season.
That's such
sad
for
a first year player that's had a great season. Rioli comes in as a sub for Al Smith and pulls 102 Supercoach. Rioli Jr.
Man, that is insane.
That's something for Richmond fans to like, but there's not much else, I think.
What was his time on ground? Where was he? Time on ground so he played most of the game anyway. Yeah. But shout out to him anyway. We'll jump into the next one. I reckon Brisbane versus Port. Yeah, what do we expect there, man? Like this round is so boring, man. I don't know, like
it's terrible.
I barely have the energy to speak.
Port weren't useless. Right? They weren't useless.
No, not at all.
Pal Pepper goes out. ACL, it's a big kind of spiritual loss for the team.
Yeah,
Rada Galea goes out in the first quarter, so that doesn't help.
Didn't help your draft there.
Doesn't help my draft. Doesn't help the forward line of Brisbane. And my boy,
your boy,
Zach Bailey.
Zach Bailey, yes, your boy Zach. He's your boy, man.
That's what I love about Brisbane is they've just got on a different day they'll have one player that just explodes. Like maybe it's a Rayner, maybe it's a Cameron, a Lohman. This time it was Bailey. Like the fact that they've got such X factor, they only need one of those guys to perform on the day and do something crazy like that, and you've got it. So expect something like that in finals time, someone to kind of explode. And anything can really happen with Brisbane when they have players doing that stuff. Kicking goals from the midfield, running ragged around the team. Beautiful stuff.
Yeah. Yep. Look, it was nice for Port, like we'll say, they get 7 goals between Georgiadis and Lukosius, and that's cool. You know what I mean? Like, I think that sort of gives you an idea of how they're going to shape up that forward line. Hopefully Lukosius can show what he has, man. because he was a pick 2 back in the day, you know. And I remember we were like back in the day when he first came in, and we were watching, and we're like, wow,
Lukosius enjoyers, man.
We were Lukosius enjoyers, man, back in the day. But not, you know, nowadays I've kind of been turned off him because I just think he's tall, Jaden Stevenson. But
You were going to say that.
that's one of the funniest.
It's never not funny.
Yeah, that is one of the most disrespectful comparisons I feel like you can give a bloke. But yeah, it was funny about Jaden Stevenson's bringing him up, a little sidetrack. He retired right last year, and then about a few weeks later, it was like the thing popped up on Instagram, like get mentored by Jaden Stevenson, you know. And I was like, who's going to pay for that, man? Who was to get mentored by him?
Prospective footballers need some guidance.
Right.
I think I've said this before, maybe even on the podcast, but year 1 Jaden Stevenson,
Special.
oh my God. I mean, he was almost Collingwood's best player.
Like, you know what? It was like having another Jamie Elliott on the field.
He was incredible.
Yeah.
And then he just dropped off. That drop off needs to be studied, mate.
Yeah, I think there's
He had the world at his feet, this kid.
Like, there's the second year blues. Like, that's a thing. But like the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th and 7th year blues, you know, like that's, you know.
It's the work ethic you need as, I'm not saying that he didn't work hard, but like you need to be a bit crazy, competitive and all that to really kick on with your career. But
have that edge.
Have that edge, yeah. Just quickly on the Port Key thought was like, agree, good to see Lukosius playing well. Mitch Georgiades has been in sick form.
Yeah.
4 this week, 5 the week before, then a 1 goal 3, 7 goals 4 a couple of weeks ago against Melbourne. Dude's been kicking bags, and I just had a quick look through his history. Like, he hasn't been fit being the main problem, but when he plays, man, he's a real goal threat pretty much since he debuted. So this is it.
And he's always been an accurate set shot.
Yeah, and he's going into the prime now. Like, if Port was a serious team like they were last year, this might have been the player that they needed to really, you know, push on deeper into the finals. But unfortunately, they're not going well overall, for their sake anyway.
Is it fair to say that he's a little bit of a Charlie Curnow light?
Well, I was going to mention as well, like, the key forward being like 190 to 193 centimeters is all in now. And man, we need a couple more of those, Matter. We've got Larky, who's not the tallest. Give me that over like a Max King height forward these days.
Yeah, look, I think it just depends on play style. Like, say...
And whether your team can kick to you properly.
True.
Well, yeah.
I think Georgiades has a bit of, you know, like bash and crash about him, even though he's a bit smaller. You know, so he has that.
He's definitely bash and crash, man.
Yeah. So, you know, I think that matters, you know. Someone like Logan Morris, less bash and crash, but he's just a smart footballer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. I reckon Georgiades is like Tracy.
Yeah.
I feel like they're both kind of underrated. Not so underrated now, but kind of they're the guys that are not afraid of the contest, love a good contested mark, and kick straight.
Well, it's more like you're trading in a bit of height for coordination, power, competitiveness. Like, give me that every day of the week. Man.
100%. And then you have a guy who has all of that, and that's Sam Darcy.
Basically,
which is what makes him so special.
Exactly right. We'll move on to the Saints and Hawks. Look, the Saints, you know, they bring a bit of life, man. I think we got to give, you know, Max Hall some credit here. Like, that dude has
two massive games.
Yeah. Yep. No, like it was a mid-season pickup from last year, I believe. That's great, man. There's been some banger mid-season draft players, and you add that to the list as a dude who can play high half forward and get involved and, you know, tackle and bring pressure. And 3 goals this game. Yep. Yeah, he's great, man. I like him a lot.
Well, not just him though. Like, I didn't watch the game, so don't take my word for it. But I'm just a quick glance at the stats. More inside 50s, 82 tackles the Saints had, 15 and 10 to Steele and McRae respectively. But the whole team, Marshall had 8. You know, for me, it just looks like the Saints just didn't have the class to do well enough in this game. But they were down the whole time. I don't know. Did you guys catch much more of it than I did?
Well, it was one of those games where the Saints look like they've got so many possessions, like so many of their big names are high on the stat sheet. And you go to the Hawks, and really it's Lloyd Meek has a big game and Jarman Impey, but no one is really dominating the stats. Like, the highest possession is 23 possessions with Josh Battle.
That's crazy, man.
And then you got Naz on the other side with 43, doing everything himself. So efficiency does matter, and the way that you move the ball.
Yeah.
And look, Saints love a contest, and they like making it a constricted game. But it's almost like a coping mechanism for just keeping it tight. It doesn't, to me, it never really seems like they've got the ability to actually win the game, just to keep it close. So I feel like it's a bit of a defense mechanism with them. And their problem going forward has always been the issue. Max Hall's provided a bit of a difference, but really, if you look at where the goals came from, a couple of midfielders, 3 for Hall, which you're not going to get every week, 2 from Higgins, he started the season well, Mitch Owens 1 goal. Like they're really lacking that forward threat. And I think that makes it really hard for them to actually kick goals.
Yeah. Look, I think it's interesting now. We look at them moving forward, right? And if De Koning all goes ahead, right? Marshall goes forward. I think there becomes a decent focal point there in Marshall. You know what I mean? I think it could be. It actually could. Like,
are they going to keep Marshall if they get Tom De Koning though?
I'd say so, right? I don't know. I don't think he's uncontracted at the end of the year. I think you hold on to him and you play him forward because I think he was initially drafted as a forward, so it wouldn't be a crazy thing to have him there. Does he want to do that?
Well, King can't be relied upon. I think his whole career he's been injured.
Exactly right. So it's like even then I feel like you could fit both of those dudes. If
you'd want to,
Max King can be all right. You could fit. They can coexist in a forward line together.
You'd want to.
You know, Sharman can
be the third. There's
maybe
Keel is the option as well.
Yeah. So all of a sudden there becomes a few options.
Maybe Mason Wood goes back to the wing.
Maybe even Keeler goes into the defense. You know, one of those guys goes to the defense.
Yeah, maybe.
It'd probably be Keeler of all those dudes.
They are talking about defense. Taru, he started his career with a bang, hasn't he?
He's awesome. Yeah.
No, that's look. I think that'll brighten up St Kilda fans on what's been a pretty underwhelming season. I think having a dude like Taru come in and just show that he's physically ready and imposing and just attacking the contest, taking marks.
He's a really fun player, man. You see a lot of stuff online. Like, obviously, my Twitter's a bit more North focused. Like, you see all the guys that typical every time come up like, and we picked Finn O'Sullivan, or like, oh, we let this guy go. We should have. It's like, just be happy for the kid, man. You can't have them all. You know, he's a top 10 pick. He's going to be a good player. So let's not do this every time he plays well. Like, he's going to be a very good player.
Yeah.
So is Finn O'Sullivan. So is Langford. You know, all these guys, Lindsay, they're all good players. Let's just enjoy them all. And just hope that they're all good. And that's what I said at the draft time was like, I hope all these players live to their potential. And so far, it's been a great draft class.
Yeah.
Like even Murphy Reed's doing well. Shanahan, you just said. Half the Richmond guys haven't even got out there, but the ones that have looking okay, showing some promise. So yeah, I don't know. It just gets a bit tiresome when you see like, we get it, man. Like Tyru's a really good player. Would have been fun at North. Would have been fun at Melbourne. Like, well, guess what? Everyone's happy with who they picked.
Yeah. And look, even for us, if we got him, I guess it would move maybe Comben forward. You know, but we've already got Will Dawson, Comben.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's not that bad. You know, like it's fine. You know, but
no, he suits the way that the Saints play, and I think he's going to be a very good player for them.
Yeah.
So good on him.
Yeah. It was interesting. Some comments. I think it was Kane Corns and David King talking about potentially him being the forward for them.
Well,
you know what I mean?
He did do that in his draft year.
Yeah.
At times, he went forward and had an impact. There were certain games, I think I mentioned this at draft time, where if the wind was going hard one way, he'd always be going the wind's way. So if he was a forward because the wind was going there, he's a forward. Then he would go back.
Yeah.
Just because his aerial presence is so good.
Yeah. So there you go.
I think it makes sense if they can't get a forward option though.
Yeah. Look, with the De Koning thing doesn't happen. For example, all of a sudden it's like you probably have to think about it. But then they don't have much defensive options, and that's probably what keeps him in the defense.
Yeah, and it's generally easier to start your career down back
behind the ball
and learn the patterns and so forth. But that's certainly an option.
Yeah.
Probably even more realistic than a Marshall, to be honest, long term.
Yeah. Quick thing on Hawthorn. They do their thing. I think they lose Weddle. I think that's a bit of a concern moving forward because he's just the X factor that they lose there is quite huge, but it's still just a very proficient team, you know, and not too many concerns with the way they're going about it.
I mean, Sicily comes back. He didn't have a big game, but I feel like he always makes them look better. And Josh Battle's kicking was on display in this game. It's funny because he's a key back, but he's almost got half-back level kicking and penetration, which you've mentioned before in the past. So.
Yeah, and the thing is, the fact that he was taking kick-ins at the start of the year, or, you know, he was very often the dude who was the outlet kick, I just didn't expect it because I don't think he did that as much at St Kilda, you know, because they have, Naz, they have Sinclair, they have Wilkie, who's himself is a decent ball user. He didn't really get a chance to show that off, and he's had a chance now, the Hawks. So, it's
revenge game against the Saints.
Yeah, true. Maybe that's why they gave it to him a bit more. You know, it's like, get your posies battle.
Yeah.
Speaking of battle, the game that was a battle, Sydney versus Freo. This is the only, really entertaining game I think of the round, for the neutrals. Grundy again. Can I just say, like, this week it's against two rucks, and he goes out there, he gets his score involvements, and he halves it. not even halves.
He smashed them.
He smashed them.
Because the Saints killed him out of the midfield.
Yeah. So it's just respect to one of the best rucks that we've seen in years. He's up there with the Goldsteins, the Gorns, now Sherry. But like just those ruckmans that just they can win games on their own. And Goulden as well, just coming in and who would have thought that one of their best players was the missing piece? Like,
and Sydney showed signs of this last week. Couldn't get over the line. But it's a typical Freo loss though. Like they're right there on the cusp of finals. Sydney, obviously, we know they're closer to the real Sydney now than they were a few weeks ago. But it's the kind of game where like Freo to be serious needs to win this game somehow, and they just lose it.
Yeah,
predictable.
It's funny because they've won 6 games in a row before this. And they're still outside the 8. And it just goes to show the impact that not having early wins has on your season.
Yep.
Like Freo was just messing around, not playing their best football. They finally go on a run, and that just gets them like even with the comp.
Yeah.
And if they don't play finals, then it's a big fail on their season, Freo.
I agree.
Because I don't think they have a lot of excuses. And I think that they look like the weakest team outside of the 8. They are outside of the 8, which is the evidence of that as well. And it's really a 9-team competition at the moment. Like, no, Sydney, they won this game, but they really needed to win last week just for it to be a long shot. They're still 3 games out. They've got no chance, right? So they've had a tough season from injury. They'll be better next year, but it ain't going to happen. Tough win, played well, but for the context of their season, it's not going to change finals because I feel like the top 8 teams are too consistent this year, and none of them really look like they're going to drop a dumb game to like a random team.
That's the thing, yeah. Well, look, for Sydney, I think it's just now play some good footy. You've got your best players back all together. Dean Cox, maybe it's just taking a bit of time for him to, really make his mark on the team and, put his stamp on how he wants it all to work.
Having said that, Amadi just got injured. I think he's out for the season, and Papley just got injured after just coming back.
Yeah,
look, it ain't going to happen, man.
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah, no, look, I think it just at least shows that they can still play football. It's not like panic stations with them. It's not, they're not Carlton.
And look, if you get within maybe 2 wins of the 8 after the year they've had, you go into next season with more confidence in Dean Cox, more confidence in where you're at.
Yeah. And they'll take pleasure in beating some teams that are fighting for the 8.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll do that to some teams. So
100%.
Yeah, no, that is true. Jump into the last game, or actually we'll jump into the last game. Adelaide versus Melbourne. Melbourne actually second quarter had a nice little run there, but it was just the Rankin show. He kicked 2 goals in the second, sparked the victory, I reckon, in my opinion.
Special player.
Yeah, 100%, man. Adelaide is doing what they needed to do. It was now that I look at the scoreline, it's actually a pretty solid effort from
Melbourne.
But
it was a weird game because Melbourne goes out to a 28-point lead halfway through the second, rattled off. What was it in a row? Jeez, it was 5 in a row.
Yeah,
in quick smart, like in 10 minutes. But then the Crows at Adelaide Oval. It's the typical, like, even when Port's good, something about that stadium, like the momentum you can get is just crazy. It's so hard to beat them there.
Very hard to beat them.
Especially with the guys like Rankin getting the party started. Like, even with Phil Thorpe quiet, they've just got some special players in the team that can really take over.
100%. And Rankin hasn't had that big of a year. Like, we probably expected bigger from him.
100%, man. Well, look, now he's playing the rest of the season, playing a bit more forward than, I think everyone was expecting. I was thinking more, 50, 60% midfield time. But, he's playing a bit more forward. And look, on a day where you need someone to spark you, if you get the ball into the forward 50 and he's there, good things happen. That's so, right.
And they'll probably need him to do that more now that Rochelle is injured as well.
True. Yeah.
I think he's going to go under surgery. So for knee surgery, might be 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
So they'll want him back for finals, and they might be able to get him back. But
thankfully, it wasn't a bad injury. Like, because it looked like it could have been like serious, but
could have been ACL, and
exactly.
He's avoided that. So they'll have him for finals, which is important for the Crows, and they're in the top 4 Crows. So they've kind of gone a little bit under the radar. I feel like over the last maybe 6 weeks.
Yeah, but then you say they're in top 4, and it's impressive. But it's like, so they're on 4 points. Geelong and Hawthorn, on 44 points. Adelaide, Geelong, and Hawthorn, and then the next 4 teams, from 6th to 9th are 40.
Yep.
So it's just a real
You can slide out of the 8.
Cluster. Yeah, you can
Easily.
You can. Yeah, it's such a cluster.
But you can
for
only
those
slide
teams.
to Freo. That's the funny thing. Last year, there was maybe 13 teams fighting for the 8. So the competition has actually gotten less even, which is interesting.
And we'll get to the tipping in a moment, but they've got a really, really tasty clash this week. Probably one of the games I'm looking forward to the most of the whole year is this game coming up.
Yeah.
Wow.
So from
We'll
this week being a poor week with blowouts everywhere, top 8 versus bottom 8, now it's more a top 8 clash.
This week's almost the opposite, aside from a few clashes. So
we'll kick it. We'll go into it then.
let's go, yeah.
So Carlton versus Brisbane. That's not a nice way to start the round.
That's not what we were talking about.
At
No.
Marvel.
And it just adds so much unnecessary pain to Carlton because they're just on the Thursday, Friday night slots, and so the whole world is just watching them. If that was like a 1:10 Sunday, people would be like, "Oh, Carlton lost, move on." This is like Thursday night lights, back to back to back.
Who
to
said
back.
like Thursday night's not prime time? Like every neutral fan's like getting the popcorn out. Like how
Oh,
much are
they're
they going to
loving
lose
it,
by
man.
this week?
They're loving it, bro. I think a lot. I think we're going to lose a lot.
May or may not be me. Yeah,
Yeah.
look, it's obviously Brisbane.
Yeah, 100%. Gold Coast at People's First against Collingwood. Now,
You'd love to see it.
Interesting. They did do well against. Was it last year where did they almost beat them, or did they beat them? I can't remember.
I can't remember, but look,
They beat him last time.
what I will
101 to 90.
There you
Wow.
go.
What I will say, Dermo brings out one of his comments, Hardwick, was that, about the Rao stuff. Is if they said this about Nick Dacos, if there was a rule change for Nick Dacos, Collingwood would be up in arms and this and that. I feel like that's going to piss Nick Dacos and Collingwood off. I think he's going to just rip him. I think Collingwood's going to win.
Yeah, that's fair. They're the best team.
If there's one midfielder back in though, I like the look of Gold Coast. Miller's been unbelievable this year. Anderson's a great captain. Rao will have his moments.
Yeah. So what are you guys thinking?
I still think, look, Collingwood, it's hard to tip against.
It's hard to get
Yeah.
against Pies, yeah.
Yeah. Fair
And I feel like the Pies have always travelled well, even though they don't have to travel much. They travel well.
True.
Now, this next game is the one I was talking about.
Yeah, that is tasty.
This is a fun clash. Marvel, Dogs hosting the Crows.
Wow.
And as we just said, the Crows, they're in the top 4. 1 win and they're out. 1 loss and they're out, rather.
Look, I like the Dogs at Marvel.
Same.
And I said it last week, the Dogs win against Sydney was a mature performance. I thought, man, I'm backing this team in. So
Yeah, same, yeah.
I'm going to go
with that.
Dogs too. However, like if you're a Crows fan, you're excited about your year so far, but these are the kind of games you need to be winning, man. This is what finals is all about.
yeah.
True.
If you lose this, what confidence do you have heading into finals? We'll see.
Speaking of the juice, some more juice here. GWS versus Geelong
At NG.
at NG Stadium. And I'm gonna tip Geelong because it's Geelong, and they'll get Bailey Smith back, and they'll be at full strength. But
I'm going to go Giants.
I'm going to go Geelong.
I think
Fair
the
enough,
Giants seem to, I don't know, I just feel like they get up for the Geelong games. They always seem to be in close ones. Or like didn't they beat them at GMHBA early in the year?
I think
They
so,
did.
yeah.
But
I
this
don't
is
know. Oh, we'll see. It'll be a really good clash.
they did beat him at GMHB. Yeah.
Richmond versus Essendon. Who cares?
Tigers.
Who cares is the answer.
Back in Tigers, man.
Back in the Tigers?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Essendon, man.
Go Essendon. Come on, Bombers.
Yeah, that's it, mate. That's it. Gutsy victory. Gutsy loss, either way. Fremantle versus Hawthorn. Now, yeah,
At Optus.
at
Interesting.
Optus. The odds on this one are just pretty much dead even. 190 to 194.
I like the Freo. I like the Freo here.
The Frio. I like the Frio. I like the
man.
Frio.
The Freo here is all right for me.
The Frio, you know, just because I like the way you've said it, I'm going to say I like the Frio.
I'm going to call it. I think Hawthorn. I think Freo is going to be the team that misses out on the 8. I think they're sliding again. Same thing last year, man. Last year they threw it. Remember that?
You're right.
I'm going to go again. It's happening.
Do the Hawks have anyone to tag Sarong? If he gets off the leash, it helps him. He's been well held. He was
They
well
don't
held
hard
this week.
tag, but they've got a bit like,
Look at
yeah, I don't know.
Connor Nash.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
You see,
Mm.
Z.
I
Yeah,
don't
he
think they-
does a bit of
I don't
tagging.
think they really care. Like, look what they did against St Kilda. They let Naz get 40 touches. I don't think they care.
But the thing is, the Freo are going to be kicking it to the big kahuna. And who does St Kilda have to kick it to, you know? No
Yeah,
one.
true.
So it's like, you know, I think they can convert a little bit more that Freo forward line.
I'm going to
than
go
what
home
Saints
ground
can.
advantage. The Freo.
The Freo. Let's go. Next game.
Foo.
Can I?
Why is Melbourne $1.21?
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting I'm super confident, but the 4.45 against North odds is disgusting and disrespectful.
Disrespectful, man. Far out. Just because of it, I'm tipping North, man.
I'm tipping North, man.
Thank you, man.
Now, I will
go.
just say, just for balance sake,
Yeah.
I'm not super confident.
Yeah,
I think our
neither.
team's banged up.
You don't have to say for the record, man. Just tip North and let's go.
No. I just want to say, so no one thinks I'm one-eyed idiot.
Everyone thinks
We
that.
are.
Everyone thinks
We
that,
are
bro.
battered and bruised. We are battered and bruised.
Yeah, we played. I reckon maybe about 7 out of the last 8 games have been really gutsy and good games.
Correct. And we're dropping like flies. Like Larky might not play.
LDU won't play.
LDU won't play.
Wardlaw won't play.
So Parker, we're assuming will be back. I don't know.
Comben might be back.
I think we can do it, but if the right Melbourne shows up, I actually think quite the opposite. I think we could actually lose handsomely if Melbourne shows up proper.
Fair enough.
Look, that's true. I'd like to see North win because that would see you leapfrog Melbourne on the ladder. That would be a pivotal moment.
We would leapfrog St Kilda as well if they don't win their game. So huge, and
Which is up against Sydney.
I very much also would like to see that.
Good segue.
Yes.
Sydney against Saints for mine.
It has to be selfishly, yeah, for sure. But this
the
kind of
last
just
game.
quickly as well, like that, doesn't that feel like a game where like somehow the Saints just look awesome?
I was looking at that.
I'm
It
still going to
does.
go Sydney because I think they're.
Could they restrict Sydney's scoring?
Yeah, I think they can.
No, that's
they
fair.
can.
Look, it's not like
Look, it's only because it's Marvel. Saints can pull off some weird shit there.
I'm going to go Saints. Not that I want it because again, North can leapfrog them if they lose, but I feel like they're just due for. Like, why are they looking so good? Sort of win.
Fair enough. Yeah,
I
that's
don't know.
fair.
It's been a while.
Yeah. Last game.
We
Port versus
always
West
tip
Coast.
Saints when they just don't deserve it. It's hilarious.
That's the thing.
I love a Saints tip. I always get it wrong.
Are you going Saints?
Yeah, I'll go Saints.
I'll go Sydney.
Oh, there we go.
I'm going
There we
Sydney.
go.
Yeah.
I'm done.
I'll keep track of that matter. I went Sydney now. I swear.
Oh, what did you can't just do
What?
that.
You
Take
got
your it. Take your it.
Oh, he said he tips him and then he gets it wrong. So he said St Kilda. I go Swans.
There you go. That makes sense. There we go. This is going to be annoying when I edit this. Anyway.
Let the record, man. If Saints win,
Let the record show I actually thought Saints there.
Port
Yeah,
against
definitely
West
Port.
Coast. So yeah, that's it. Port.
Would be funny if they lost there. Very funny.
Oh yeah, I'd love it.
there's no chance they lose at Adelaide, man.
Yeah.
Harley Reid won a 1v1 against Horn Francis. We all want to see it.
Just a quick update on the Enjoys tipping then. Skivo, the lead is being stretched here. 2-point lead from
Really?
Lana S. Yep. 111.
Wow.
Bock Hall, Eugene H on 109. Tied with Kiara Tinney on 109. Fish and Cripps. And then another 2 gap to Paul Curtis Taylor. So that's the top 5.
There we go.
Skivo's pulling away.
Did Skivo get the margin or something? Must have got the margin, man.
Low margin, 385, then 380 is Bock Hall in second. Then the rest are over 400. So
Well, unless they got the Sydney tip, and a few people went through. Who knows? I don't know.
there was a clean 9 from a few people last week because it
Yeah.
was an easier round.
Yeah, true.
Paul Curtis Taylor dropping away like in real life.
Hey, easy.
Look,
Man, he's doing me dirty at the moment.
mate, you're picking a medium forward in draft and expecting,
Man's was pulling
hundreds.
Just be
90s for gags.
thankful for what you had. Okay?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right, man. Yeah. Anyway, I think we'll finish it off there. An underwhelming round of footy, but hopefully a little bit of entertainment for you there.
Longer round, man. I kind of missed the buys now.
Yeah, no,
The buys are actually, as you get older, you realize the buys are not that bad. As you get older, you realize that AFL was right about the
But
buys.
you got to be honest.
Buy
Like,
every week, man.
there was more games.
Carlton, have a buy for the rest of the
Yeah.
season.
There was more games this week. Did I watch more footy? No.
Let's
be real.
That's fair. No, I get you. It becomes a bit more overwhelming. But yeah, no. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. See you on the next one.
Bye-bye.
Bye.